Hello friends and welcome to another tutorial. Now in this tutorial we will create a responsive photography website, but we will have a mobile first approach to it. We will use HTML and CSS in order to achieve our website. And we will also use technologies like Flexbox to achieve our responsiveness. We'll also use Font Awesome for icons, Google Fonts for the font style, and Unsplash for images, Unsplash source and Unsplash site on itself. And for the code editor, I will choose Visual Studio Code because, well, it's one of the best code editors out there and it's free. I will also post a link in the description below for you if you don't have it set it up as I have, so with all the extensions and everything. It's just a short video and I'm going through each and every extension I have for Visual Studio Code. And also, I will use SASS in this tutorial. You don't have to and you don't need to use SASS. I'm just using SASS because it's much more quicker. You can and will achieve exactly the same results using CSS, and the entire code will be in the description below. But if you want to use SASS and you're not quite familiar with it, I also have a crash course which I will link in the description below on my YouTube channel. It's kind of a 1.5 hour crash course and I go through almost everything that you need to know about SASS. Okay, so let's take a look at our first project and let's see what we're going to create. Okay, yeah, so this is the project that we're going to work on. As you can see, this is a mobile first approach to it. It's just a main section with a button. This also has a hover effect. If I click on it, this is like having hover in our responsive mode, and it changes color and the text shadow disappears. Okay, so this is a pretty neat trick. So it has a bit of a text shadow. If I click on it, it disappears. Furthermore, if we click on the contact, then it's going to send us down to the contact section of the page where we will have an email address, phone number, and social links. Now, these images right here are from Unsplashed. I'll show you how you can get them. And there will refresh, if I refresh the page, you will get other images. So you will constantly get other images because these are random. Now, another thing about our web page, if we refresh it, so at our header section, you will see it has this animation of opacity from 0 to 1. Now, if we go to iPad format, you will see it changes its flex direction. It's a simple page, but it's pretty efficient. And also it helps us tackle on that mobile first approach. Okay guys, so before we get started, if you're enjoying this kind of content, then please subscribe to my channel because I post videos like this on a weekly basis. And also please hit that like button if you do enjoy my content and share these videos. If you don't, hit that dislike button. So let's get started. Okay guys, so let's get into the project. Now I just created an empty folder on my desktop, or if you have a special folder for the projects, then create it in there. And I just named it responsive mobile first. Okay, so let's start up with a new file, a HTML file. I'm going to call it index.html because HTML, because it's the page, the main page that always the web servers are looking for. Okay, within here we're going to use Emmet and create our boilerplate for our Html5 Boilerplate, and we're going to name or give a title to our website. Mobile first, actually responsive mobile first landing page. We could also call it photography website. Actually, let's call it photography. Let's delete this. Photography website. Okay, as I said, up here, because we need to use the technologies from Font Awesome and then later on Google Fonts. So up here, I'm going to, before the title, I'm going to include our link for Google Fonts. So let's go to Google Fonts, actually to Font Awesome. And if you don't have an account, you have to create one. If you do have one, then you can use your kit. So I'm going to use my kit here and just copy in the link. Okay, so that's Font Awesome linked up. Let me actually try it. I'm just going to create a... first of all, let's go live. Let's go live, click on go live, and yeah, there's our empty website. Now let's go back into Visual Studio Code. Let's create here a H1. Hello, and let's hit save. Let's go back to our website. There we got our hello. Oh, Using an A. Whatever. It's just for showing purposes. Now let's go to font awesome and let's search for an icon. Let's say Facebook. And there we go. We have a Facebook icon. We're just going to click on Facebook and we're going to click on this copy HTML, and this is going to copy this entire I tag. Now if you clicked on it, it's already copied to your clipboard. So we're going to just go in here, and before our hello, we can actually put it right in here with our H1. Now I'm going to paste it in. Okay, and theoretically this should show now in our photography website. Hey, there we go. There's our Facebook icon. So Font Awesome is linked up and it's working. Now I'm going to create our HTML now, our complete HTML, and after that I'm going to go into the styling part. So let's start up within our body tags by creating a main tag, and I'm also going to give this a ID of main. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to use this ID, but because I also do a lot of JavaScript, I always give them IDs, because IDs are the main way I like to link up my JavaScript to my HTML. Okay, within here, next up we're going to create a header. And within this header, we're going to, let's go to our finished project. We're going to have all of this, okay? So when the user comes in, he's going to see this. And this also has a little bit of animation, as you can remember, and this button. So title, subtitle, a button, and on the right side, an image. So let's get into it and create this. Now, first in our header tag, we're going to create a div, and now dot for class. We're going to give this a class of header and dash text. This is where our text will live. Within this, I'm going to create another div with the class of header dash text and underscore content. And this is where the content will live of the text. So I'm just going to create another H1, and let's call this Norbert VM, just my name, and a H2, and this is the company name, be Menhart Media, not Nadia Media. There we go. Okay, underneath of this, we're going to create our buttons. Let's go back to our finished project. We're going to create this button right here. So let's create a button tag, and we're also going to give this a class of btn. Within our button tag, we're now going to use a icon tag. So we're going to go to Font Awesome. We're going to need this book icon. Let's go back into Font Awesome, and within search, we're just going to type in book. Let's see what we get. I think I used this one. Was the open one or the closed one? Yeah, it was this one. So click on it, and it's going to generate you the icon tag. Just click on it again. It's going to be copied. Let's go back into our text editor and paste it in. Now we're going to go outside of icon tag. I'm going to create an anchor tag with a href to an ID of contact. Okay. Now this ID of contact will be down in our footer. So let me go outside the main. Above our body, I'm going to create here a footer tag, and I'm going to give this a ID, my ID of contact. Okay, so why am I doing this? Because as soon as I click on the icon, let me go back here. So as you saw, as soon as I click on this, this is going to take me down here. So once again, let's go to the top. When we click on the contact portion, is going to send us down to the contact. And we later on implement smooth scrolling, so it scroll down smoothly. So we got our icon tag in here, and theoretically it will take us down to a section which yet not exists. So let's go back into our editor. Within our anchor tag, we're going to type in contact. So this is pretty much it for the button, and I just need after the button, so after this div and after this div, right before our header tag, we'll need another div with an ID Next, you can create an ID just like this, a hash, and just type in the ID. So header minus image. Okay, so if I click save, you see I created a general div with an ID of header-image. Now we're going to leave this open because we're going to insert the image using CSS or SASS. Okay, that's pretty much it for the header. So I'm going to type in here comment header section. Okay, I'm going to leave it like this. And from down here, main, we're going to start our image section or portfolio section. So underneath our comment of portfolio section, I'm going to create a section tag. And I'm also going to give this a ID of images. Now let's go into our section tag. And within here, first thing we need to create is an H2 with an ID of portfolio. And also type in portfolio here. So I'm just going to copy this and type it in our H2 tags. Now let's see how this looks until now. Well, not bad. But let's be honest, this is not a website. So let's continue on. Now it's time to use Unsplashed. So let's create first of all an image tag, and we don't need this alt, just need the image tag. Underneath the image tag, I'm going to create a div with a class of description. And within the description, we're going to create H4. So this is going to be this part right here. So after each image, we have a photo name and some text. Okay, you can see after each image. Now this is started by this portfolio section, this portfolio title right here. And hey, I actually wanted to space this up a little bit, so I'm going to do this later on. Good. Now, this means we need to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections, or 5 description containers. So let's go back into our text editor, and just going to use dash dash photo 1 and space dash dash again. Underneath of our H2, I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and I'm just going to type in here lorem, and that's it. So just a bit of text. I think that's more than I wanted, so let's delete this, and let's use lorem 50 words. Oh, that's too much also. Lorem 20. No, that's much better. Okay, so we have 20 words from lorem ipsum. Okay, we have our image tag, we have our container. So I could take this and copy it 4 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's hit save, and Prettier will rearrange everything for us. Now let's go into our first image tag, and also let's go to Unsplashed. Now we're going to use 2 separate things. First of all, we're going to use Unsplash source. Okay, so source.unsplash will be, let me actually copy this in here and comment it out. So our images will come from http://source.unsplash.com. And this is because this is a server which will randomly give us images depending on. Now I should go down here to source Unsplashed. Didn't use names. I used the direct link. So I'm going to copy this link, go back into my text editor, and paste it into the source. Now you can see here's nature and water. And I'm going to replace this nature with model. And I want to have more people. So the first word will be where or what, and then where. So let's go into our project. Let's see what we got. Hey, we got here a huge image. I'm going to take this source file, and I'm going to go into my next image, first of all replace this with 2. This is the second image, and into the source I'm going to paste it in. Whoa, misclicked. So, hey, what you doing? Oh, I have too many quotations. So let's delete this one, and let's delete this one. And I'm going to replace this with 3. Or trees. So let's hit save. Take a look at our editor. We got our next image, okay? And between them, we also have our description container. Now, let's repeat this for the next 3 images. So this will be 3. And let's paste in the image description. I did copy this incorrectly, as it seems. So let me copy it again without the quotations. Let's paste it in our 3rd image, or 4th. Wait a second, water. No, I don't want water here. I want flowers. And down here, I want animals. Okay, and this will be image 4. And down here, we will have our last image. Let me paste in our source. And image 5. Okay, so let's check this out. We got our images 1, 2, 3. There's 4 and there's 5. Okay, now last thing we need to do is create our footer, where we have our footer. Here we have our footer tag and our ID for it, so content. Now let's go in here and let's create an h3 for the title of contact us. Hey h3, what you doing? h3, and within our h3 contact us, not us, us. Okay, underneath our h3, I will create a few containers, a few general divs. Our first div will be for a email, so I'm just going to type in here email, and within here I'm going to use a email icon from Font Awesome again. So let's go to Font Awesome and let's search for envelope, and there we go. Envelope, yeah, the simple envelope, that's okay. Okay, we got our envelope. Let's go back into our text editor, paste it in here, and after the envelope icons, after the closing icon, I'm going to create an anchor tag, and I'm going to, if we click on the icons, let's first of all type in here contact, some kind of email contact at menhartmedia.com. Okay, let's hit save and let's take a look at our project. So when we go down here, actually now if we click on this button, this should send us to our contact page. Let's click on it and boom, we're down here. Now, we can't implement the smooth scrolling yet, but I want, when we click on this link, now it's just refreshing. What I want to do is to open up our email server. So if you have an email server, or if you have Google, if you have Gmail or something like that, well, then we could do something like go into our anchor tag, and for the href, we're going to type in, HTTPS for secured, //www.gmail.com, for example. And for the target, I want to open this as a separate page, so I'm going to type in here target blank. Okay, now let's try this out. Theoretically, if we click on this, it should open up our email address. Let's click on it. And did I type something in wrong? Oh, too many P's. So let's try this again. Let's click on it, and so this will open up your email. And now let's go back into our text editor. We have our email done. I'm actually going to copy this, paste it in, and I'm going to replace email with phone. And I'm going to replace this class with phone dash volume. Okay, and down here, I don't need this anchor tag. Just going to type in here number. I'm going to use first a bulk, a B, or you can use strong. It's the same thing. And let's say 555-55555. Okay, let's hit save. Let's go back in. Wait, this is open this. We don't need this. Okay, let's go back to our page, and as you can see, we have now a small phone icon right here. All right, the last thing that we need is our social section. So let's create another div. We're going to give this a ID. Actually, I can just use ID and social media minus icons. Okay, now within this div, let's create a follow us. Just type in here follow us, and now we need to grab onto the icon tags for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So let's go into Font Awesome again, and within here I'm going to search for Instagram. Actually, I could just type them out because I already know the names, and you should know them when you type them out more than one type. So I'm going to copy first of all this icon tag from up here. Wait, I need the closing tag, so we do need the entire tag. So first tag, and instead of envelope, also this is a different category for icons. This is no longer FAS, but it's FAB, and then FA, and within here we're going to type in Facebook. Okay, so let's see if this works. Let's go back to our project, and yay, we got our Facebook icon. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to copy this icon and paste it in 3 more times. And this one will be Instagram. Then the third one will be Twitter. And the last one will be YouTube. Okay, that's pretty much it for HTML, and now we can start styling it. So let's start with the styling part. Alright, so next up we're going to start styling our web page, and for this I'm going to create a new file, and this will be a SASS file, so SCSS file. Now let's name this style.scss, and this will be our main SCSS file. As I said, you could either use SASS or use regular CSS, and I'm going to explain this down the road, how this works, but it doesn't matter what you use, the results will be the same. I'm just using SASS because it's much quicker. Now within our main SASS file, we are going to only use the imports. So we are going to import a couple of files that we're going to create first of all. Now what can we import? We can only import partial files, and a partial file is a file which will not generate any CSS. It will only be used to be imported in our main style sheet, and then will generate the CSS file. Partials are created by typing underscore, and our first partial will be a main.scss file. Oh, too many S's here. So let's take out one S. And there we go. Now in order to use our SASS files, we need our extension, our SASS compiler. So let's go to extensions, and let's type in here live SASS. And you should get this live SASS compiler. Okay, now let's click on install. Okay, it's installed. We can now close this up, and when you are in a CSS file, you'll see down here was SASS. So if I'm in HTML5, actually it sees it because it sees that our folder contains a SCSS file. So when we are here, we're going to click on, should I do this? No, I'm not going to do this right now. In our main, I am going to create something. I'm going to show you how this looks. So first of all, let's create a general reset. If you're in CS, if you're using only CSS, no problem. It's exactly the same thing. So we're going to type in star, and this star means it's going to target the entire web page. So the entire index, HTML. Okay. Now, comma, before, and after. Now we're going to reset all of our margins to 0 and also our paddings to 0. And one last thing, I'm going to type in here the scroll smooth effect. So scroll behavior smooth, and I'm going to comment it out. Because this is going to interfere with our project. Now I just hit save, and well, nothing happens. If we take a look within here, we can still see we have margins. Let's also click inspect, and let's go. Actually, this is also good. So if we go to our page, you will see header, main. Let's go to the main, let's go to the body. And let's make this a bit larger. You can see we have 8 pixels margin. We don't want this. We want 0 margin. We want to be able to style our own web page. If you used only CSS, then this already took effect. But we're using SASS for 2 things. First of all, we need to import our main file. Let me do it after it. So now let's click on Watch SASS. This will open up the server, and this will create a CSS file. Now this CSS file is, well, it's empty because there's nothing in it, but this is where our entire CSS will be stored. Now in order to store the CSS generated from our SASS, we now need to import in our main. So let's import. This is the way we import a file. Quotations. We want to import the main. You can also use underscore main. It's the same thing. Close it up. Hit save. And now let's take a look in our style.css. Hey, this is the code that we just created in our main. Now let's create something else. Let's, for example, take the body. Actually, let me show you first. Did it take effect? So let's go to our project. It did not take effect because we didn't import it in our HTML. So let's go up in our HTML, and before the script tag, actually let me do it after. After our script tag, we're going to link up our CSS file, link, and we're going to choose the style.css. We cannot link up a SASS file, only a CSS file. Now let's hit save, and now let's go back to our project. As you can see, it already took effect. We have no more margins and no more paddings. Okay, so let's go back into our main file. I'm actually going to make this terminal smaller. If you have an error, if we, let's say, save something in our main, you will see down here success. If I did something like that and hit save, you will see error. And if you get this error, then no CSS will be generated. Now the program will stop here and it will not continue on. So you need to take care of that. So also, this error will show you where it is. Okay, now I'm going to take this out and I'm going to close my console. I don't need this. So next up, let's import a font. And now we're going to go to Google Fonts. And I used here the font of Montserrat. Okay, so let's click on Montserrat. I think I used a 400 regular style. I actually use the theme one, and we're going to style it after that. So we're going to click on style, select this style. This window on the right will open up. We're going to go to embedded, and we're going to go to import. And this right here, this link between the style tags is what we need. So we're going to copy this, go into our text editor, and import it in here. Now let's go to our body. I'm going to select the body tag. Now let's go back to Google Fonts, and let's copy. You can see here CSS rule to specify families. We're going to just copy this font family. Okay, paste it into our body tag, and there we go. Now theoretically, our body, how do we have it? There we go. Now our body has the font style of Montserrat. Okay, next up I'm going to take all the anchor tags and all of the icon tags. So both of them, I'm going to do 2 things. I don't want any list styles. So list style none. And this will take out those pointers and numbers from our list items. And I also don't want any text decoration. So before I do this, let me show you something. We're going to go down to our contact section and see contact@mainhartmedia.com. It has this underscore. Now if I type in here none, so text decoration, let's go back and you can see it's gone. Let me actually increase the size of this, 150. I think you can better see this now. Next up, let's start our H1s and H2s from here. So these two right here. From our header, this text content. Now there are actually many ways you can do that. We could, let me do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, let's go into the main. Let's say H1. I'm going to change the font weight to 400. Now, before I hit save, let's first of all take a look at this font weight. So this one right here, Norbert PM, and click on it right in here. We set display block, and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing for the font weight, it's just bold. Now, if I hit save here and go back to our font weight, it should have turned into 400. Okay, yep, there it is. H1 font weight. This is automatically generated, and this is what we styled, 400. Now let's also go back into our CSS, generated CSS, and there is H1 weight 400 and the anchor and the li tags. Good. Now I'm going to close this up. I don't want to touch that anymore, the CSS file. Okay, for the font size, let's increase this to 2.5 rem. I'm going to use here text decoration to uppercase. Actually, text transform, not decoration. Text transform to uppercase. Okay, we got this one. Now let's take our H2 and I'm going to copy this. Font weight, font size, going to change to 1.8. Now let's take a look at our page. So this is good, but I want to capitalize the letter. So this means Mainhart and Media, so the both of the M's should be capitalized. Now I'm going to go into our text transform and type in capitalized. Okay, now let's see what happened. Let's check out our changes, and there we go. M and M are now capital letters. Now we will have an image within here. And now let's type in here. So actually this will target all of our image tags in the entire page. And let's display them as block. And we will give them a width of 100%. Okay, we got this done. Now the last thing I want to style on our main page is the tag itself. So main, I'm going to use the main tag. And we're going to give it a max width of 900 pixels. Now this just means that our max width of the page, so let me go to responsive. Let's see, at 816. And now if we leave, let me go here. Did I save this? Oh yeah, and margins auto to have the margin auto, and this will center our page into the middle. Type in max, and I'm going to use the ID this time. Okay, so this just centers everything. Hey, you're a bit zoomed in into the center of the page, and also gives me for the main part. Hey, we still have this hello. Let me delete this. Let's go up here, and we don't have my hello. Ah, there it is. So I'm going to take this and delete it. Okay, let's go back to our page. As you can see, we have a max width. So after 900 pixels, the page will stop. Let's go to a different size, and we'll have on the margins, for the margins, we have a automatically assigned margin width. Okay, let's go back to our main, and a couple of things I want to do here is give it a box shadow. So the entire page would have a box shadow, and we'll achieve this effect on, you see this effect right here on the left and right. There's a bit of a shadow here. Okay, so let's go back to our idea of main, and let's type in box shadow. Let's start with 30 pixels, then 0 pixels, and 40 pixels, and a RGBA color of 0. Now I can only do this in SASS and not in regular CSS, but I'm going to show you how this looks in regular CSS and the alpha of 01. Okay, and there's an error. Oh, so you don't want to recognize this because our color, variable color, is not defined. No problem. We will type in here a hash color, hash of 111. So this, no, actually 000. This is complete black. Okay, success. So we don't have any errors anymore. We could continue on. Hey, you S there. You shouldn't be there. Now, if you take a look in our generated CSS, this is what you should type in. Box shadow RGBA of 000 and 0.1. Now, I'm going to use also inverted, quasi inverted shadow. I'm not going to end it here. I'm going to type in comma and copy this entire thing, the value. And after the comma, I'm going to use a minus and copy in the same thing again. Let's take a look at our effect. And not this one, but this one. And there we go. We have our beautiful effect right here of the box of our shadow. So next I'm going to take the class of description. Isn't the description? Yep, there it is. The class of description. Hey, I want to paste you in. Copy this. Go back into our main. Target the class. And I'm going to give it a bit of a padding of 2.5 rem. And also we're going to align the text. So text align to the center. Now let's take a look in our project. We have everything aligned to the center. And hey, this is a mobile first application. So let's go to our phone format. So this is how it's looking right now. Why is it so zoomed in? Because it didn't take care of the images. No problem. No problem at all. Let me go to 150. And there we go. So we're going to take care of this really soon. Now the last thing I want to do is target the portfolio ID. So we're going to target this section right here after image. Where's our portfolio? There we go. This right here, I want to make this separation. So let's go up. I want to create this separation right here. And also let's go here to a image form, a iPhone format. This is how everything should look at the end. So let's give it a padding, a all-around padding of 1.5 rem, and also text align to the center. Want to push the text to the center of the page. And let's change this background color to hash 333, so a grayish color. And for the text, now for the text color, we need to go with a white color, so FFF, hexadecimal. Now let's take a look in our website, and there we go. There's a portfolio section. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the main. Okay, so next up we're going to style our header. For this, we first need to create our header partial. If you're using CSS, then you would just continue on typing here. So header.scss, and we also need to import it. So I'm going to copy our import from above and say, and let me also show you it works without underscore. So header. And if I would type in our header, let's say, hey, let's type in a comment so we know that here starts the header. So let's click save. And if we take now a look in our generated CSS, in our map, and down here, a source mapping of an app. Oh yeah, because I need to use a regular CSS comment. So backslash star star backslash star star and backslash again. Okay, let's type in here header. Let's hit save. Let's go to our style, and there we go. We have our comment, our CSS comment. So let's start styling our header. So know that the header, and also if you're then using CSS, you will see everything that we type in a header will come down here. So let's take first of all our header. Did I give it an ID or only a tag? Main header. No, I just give it a regular tag. Okay, let's go back in our header partial, and let's give everything that is in the header a text shadow of 1 pixel, 4 pixels, 2 pixels, and a RGBA of a dark color. So I'm going to delete this, and 0.1. Now let's take a look at our project. So as you can see, there's no text shadow here, but as soon as we go up here, we'll see just a bit of a shadow. You can see this right here. Now let's take our D of header dash text minus text, and let's start styling this portion right here. And the very first thing I actually want to do is take care of the image. Okay, so there we go. I was too far zoomed in. So let's go back in our text editor. Let's start styling our header text. So everything that is contained within this header text. So we have these two texts, our H2 and H1, and we also have our buttons, or button. Okay, so let's start by displaying this as flex. So display flex, and flex automatically flexes in a row actually. Okay, but now we want to flex it, so the flex with some growth and length of 0, 1, and 40 viewport widths. Okay, so now let's take a look at it. And we're still missing our image. No problem. We're going to insert now our image by going to the header image ID. Type in image or img, header img. Okay. So we don't need you. Oh. Now for the header image, we're going to first of all type in background. And now we're going to use a URL. As I said, we're using Unsplash for our images, but this time we're going to go to Unsplash. And what did I use? Let's say photography. Portrait. There should be some camera. Where the hell is my image? Camera. So we got this one, this one, this one. I think it was, hey, there it is. Okay, let's click on it. And as you can see up here, this link right here, this is the ID of the image. So we need to copy this link, go into our image URL, paste it in. And now let's go back in here, and actually I need to delete this photography. So go back, and there we go. This should now work. Oh, I forgot to type in here source, because I need the source of the image. Okay, so let's check this out again. Still isn't working. Why is that? I think I also need to position it, and only after that. So let's type in background position center and background size as cover. I want to have it as a cover, and we also need to give it a height before we can display it. So for the height, I'm going to go with 50 viewport height. Okay, so there's our image. Now I also want this image to not repeat itself, so background repeat, no repeat. Now let's flex our image as 0, 1 and 60 viewport widths, because we had our header text as 40 viewport widths, so we still have 60 viewport widths from 100. Okay, so this is working perfectly. Now we need to give it a margin 0. And the last thing, we're going to go up to our header text again. So within here, now we're going to change its height to 50 viewport heights. So let's go back in here. And let's also justify the content now to the center. And also align the items to the center. Okay, now I'm going to give it a padding from top and bottom 0 and left and right 1 rem. Let's take a look. I also want to align the text to the center. So text align center. Okay. Okay, next thing, I want to create an animation, because in our initial project, or in our finished project, as you can see, we have up here, when we refresh the page, when we first start out on this page, we have this animation effect. It's actually a opacity effect. So let's go in here in our text editor, and let me try to create animation up here. So how do we create animations? Add keyframe, and we give it a name of anime, doesn't matter, and it's going to go from 0% to with a opacity of 0 to 100%, not there, to 100% with a opacity of 1. Okay, so that's the entire animation that we need. Now within our text, header text, I'm going to type in animation. Now we need a name, which was anime. Then we need a speed of 2 seconds, and I'm going to use the ease in out curvature. Okay, now I'm going to copy this animation effect, and I also want it to apply to the image. And I want the image to take 4 seconds. So let's go in here and let's see. Okay, so the image is taking, hey, this is not taking effect. I just realized that this isn't taking effect. Why is this? So let me take a look at what I did wrong. Header text. Ah, it's a class. Hello. Why did I target it as an ID? Let's go back in here. And there we go. Didn't even occur to me. Okay. Well, things happen. But what I don't like is the, this should be bold. Okay, let me go, let me go in here in our main, and I'm going to comment out the width, or the font weight of both of them. So let's go back in here. Okay, that's much better. But I also go into the header and take the H2 from the header. This is called nesting. I'm going to show you how this works. Within our header text, there with a class of header, so within this one, we have a H2, okay? And when I'm targeting this H2, it will only affect the H2 that is in the header class. So in CSS, I'm going to show you how in CSS this would work. Let me give this a color of ash 666, so gray color. In regular CSS, this should be class header minus text, and here H2. And this means I'm only targeting that H2 that is within this class. So let's take a look in our generated CSS. And there you go. Header text h2 color #666 evil color. Okay, so yeah, we got this finished. What do we have to do in the header? And we have to style our button. Now let's go down here. Not in the CSS. Do not modify the CSS file. We're going to now take the btn class. The button, and it's kind of smooshed together. I'm going to do a couple of things to it. First of all, I'm going to give it padding, that a bit of a border. I'm going to change this border color. Then the margins I'm going to also change a bit, and I'm going to give it a radius and also a few effects. So let's go in here and say, first of all, padding, going to go with top and bottom 0.5 rem, and left and right 2 rem. After that, I'm going to take out the borders, change the border colors 1 pixel, and #ccc for the color. Actually do DDD, that's much better. And the border should be solid. You can use solid or dashed. Okay, so let's already take a look. Hey, this is looking much more like a button. Now, I don't want that. I don't want the outline to appear, the solid outline. We just going to type in outline none. Okay, let's go back in here, and if I click on it, you can see the outline is gone. But we also do not see if it does something. So for this, I'm going to give it an effect of text transform. But first of all, let me finish up the styling. So margins, I need to go to rem top and bottom and 0 left and right. This is going to push our button down. It was smooshed up here to the H2, but now it's pushed down with 2 rem. And I'm also going to change the border radius and give it a 50% border radius. Oh, 50 pixels, 50% would make it round. Oh, there we go. That's pretty much it. And I also want to give it a box shadow in order for the button to be popped out a bit. So 0.05 pixels and 1 pixel for the spread, and a RGBA of, we don't need U, but we do need U of 0.3 alpha. Okay, let's take a look. Hey, there's our button. Now I also want to change its background color to black. So background color, not background color, be more specific. Hash, I could use black. Let's hit save. Hey, this is odd. Not black, black. Okay. Hey, there we go. Now within here we had an icon tag and also the text. Now, let me take care of them by saying, now I'm going to use nesting again. I'm going to say the anchor tag and the icon tag that are within the btn class, and they should have the color of hexadecimal FFF. Okay, white color. Now, as I said, this means the class of btn, the anchor tag within it, comma, the class of btn, the icon tag within it, should have the color white. Let me also show you this. There we go. You saw this was much shorter to write. This is why I'm using nesting, because anchor tags and icon tags, so these two should have the same font size. I'm also going to increase the font size to 1.2 rem. Now let's hit save and let's take a look at our finished contact button, and there we go. Still, I think I need a bit of padding between these two. So let's go with padding. I'm going to use now padding right of 0.2 rem. I think that's enough. Let's take a look. Let's go with 0.5 rem. Yep, that's much better. Okay, so that's not it for the button. Now I'm going to use a few selectors. First of all, when we want to select, if I would want to do something like btn and then hover and type in here, when we hover over a button, the cursor should be pointer and the background color should change to 666. Okay, I could do something like, actually, let me show you. So this is taking effect. Well, I am in a mobile phone, so I have to click on it. Okay, click, click, and this would be hover. Or actually, let me show you in responsive mode. So when don't want the pointer, go out of it. So when I hover over the button, it has this gray color. Let's go back into inspect mode. And let's go back into our phone mode. The site is starting to look pretty much like what we have here in our finished project, isn't it? Okay. Let's go back in here. So instead of doing this, I'm going to go in here and target the parent with ampersand. This is targeting this class, okay, the btn class. So I'm going to take this out, cut it out, paste it in here, and delete this one. And let's see if it has the same effect. I actually need to go back and close this up. And hey, there we go. It has exactly the same effect. Also, let's take a look in our generated CSS. And there we go. This is exactly what the CSS generated. So any valid CSS is also valid SASS. Good. Let's go back into our header. And the last thing I want to do is again use my parent selector and then on active. And this just means when I click on the button, something should happen. And I'm going to transform with scale to 0.96%. And also take out the box shadow. So box shadow, none. So let me show you what I just did. If I click on it, you'll see it will shrink down a bit and the box shadow will disappear. So I actually need to do this in a desktop mode. So click on it, you see it shrunk down and the shadow disappears. Okay, pretty cool, isn't it? Okay, let's go back into inspect and also in our text editor, and that's pretty much it for our header. Okay, so next up we're going to style our footer. Now let's create again a new file, new partial file of footer.scss. Let's also import it. Very important, do not forget to import this file. Footer, and now let's go into our footer file. Now you don't have to do this, but I am going to use variables. You could then just type in, I'm going to show you, you can just type in the colors in CSS, but SASS and also CSS also has variables. They look something like root, and within here you will type in dash dash and the name of the variable, say Facebook, color, and then hexadecimal of 1877F2. Okay, and if you want to use this variable, then you will say, let's say, actually we could do this because I already have here the icon. So let's go down to our contact, and let's say we want to style this Facebook color. Then I'm going to take the class FA Facebook, take the class, go into footer, target the class, and let's say that its color should be, now you need to type in var, within parentheses you need to type in dash dash Facebook color. Okay, so now if I would go back to our page, and yay, the color of Facebook is now this blue color. And the cool things with variables, if I would change this color, I change it to this one, hit save, go back in here, you can see the color has now changed. But This is now how we're going to do this. This is if you are doing CSS. Okay, so if you're typing this in CSS, then use this. Within here, you do now -- Instagram color, and then type in the next color, then close it up. But we are going to do it another way. Now, SASS also has variables, as I said, and the SASS variable is defined like this: $, and you give it the name of the variable. So say, let's say Facebook, and then 2 dots, and then the color. You could use red, so name colors. You could use RGB colors, RGB or RGBA colors. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use hexadecimal colors. So again, that's the Facebook color 1877F2, and there we go. Now, if you want to use this, I'm going to use this in the contact ID. Within the contact ID, we have a main class of FA, so class FA, and within this main class of FA, so let me show you this again. So within here, there's a dash. After the dash comes the name. You can see each of these social media icons has this, starts with a FA. So if I want to target this in SASS, I would just do parent selector, so the FA dash and Facebook. Okay. And now within here, I'm going to tell it, hey, you should have the color of the variable color Facebook. Okay, now let's hit save and let's see if this took effect. And yay, there we go. Now the next colors, I'm just going to copy and paste them in. So we have Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And now I'm going to take this Facebook, copy it, and paste it in 3 times. And let's change this to Instagram. The next one, oh, by the way, if you click on something, you can see everything that is similar will be highlighted. If you hold down Command D on a Mac or Control D on a PC, it will select the next one, but downwards. Okay, and if we're done selecting downwards, so this is the last one, and I click Command D or Control D, it will select the next one from up here. So see, POC and POC and POC. Okay, we don't want that. We want this too. And this also search, Command F. Okay, we will replace this with Twitter. And the last one will be replaced with YouTube. Why did I type as a capital T? I wanted to have it as a regular T. So actually I'm going to take this, copy it, select both of our Facebooks, paste it in, replace it. Let's go to our site, and there we go. We have our social media colors. Great. Now next up, I'm going to everything that's in the contact ID. Oh, and by the way, let's take a look at the CSS. So if you want to do this in CSS, this is how it looks. So ID of contact, the class of FA-Facebook color. ID of contact, class of FA, Instagram color, so far and so on. And this is why I'm doing it in SASS. You can see SASS is excellent at really quick and short code because of nesting. Nesting is extremely powerful. Okay, so let's continue installing our contact. Let's say text align. I want to align the entire text to the center. Then let's give it a bit of a padding of top and bottom 2 rem and left and right 1 rem. Then a margin auto. Everything was pushed in the middle. I'm gonna give it also a color of 333 for the text. Hey, where the hell did you jump? Stop jumping around. Okay, so the color and background color should be white. So #FFF. All right. Next thing, I want to also give it a text shadow. I'm actually going to copy the shadow from the main. No, it was in the header. So this one right here. We just copy this, go back in here, and paste it in. And that's pretty much it. Now let's take a look at this. Down the content, and if it's pushed in the center. What I don't like is that I want to have a bit of a padding between this and the title, so the contact us should be much larger. So we'll achieve this by now targeting the h3 within it. So within our parent, don't need the parent selected. Within this, we're going to target the h3, and we're going to say font size, free rem, and also margin from the bottom. So I want to push the title down a bit or up a bit between the title and the rest of the text should be a 1 rem space. Now within the divs, so as you can remember, we had everything in divs within here. So we had our phone, our email, and our social icons between divs. So let's take those divs and let's say padding of top and bottom 0.25 rem and left and right 0. So this is how it looks now. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the footer. Okay, the last thing we need to do is to make this responsive, because if I change it now to a iPad Pro, I want this to be on the left side and this to be on the right side, exactly as we have it in here. Let's go to an iPad, and this is on the left side, this is on the right side. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go in here, create our responsive partial.scss, and let's import it in our style. The main style sheet, so copy this and replace it with responsive. Okay, let's just say, hey, we got an error. Responsive because responsive. Ugh. That's not correct. Responsive. There we go. Okay. Now this is very short and simple. Because we're starting with a phone format, we now want to give it a min width. So when we have, we're going to use the media query. So at media, when we have a min width of 500 pixels, then we want the header to be displayed as flex, and it should have a height of 100%. Now the ID, actually the class of header text, should have a height of 100% or 100 viewport heights. So we can always see this. We take a look. Hey, it's already changed. No, wait, there we go. Okay, so it's iPad Pro, and let's go to iPad. Okay, so this already changed. Now we need to also take care of the image. Now we just need to go on to the ID of header image, and we'll give this also a height of 100 viewport heights. So let's hit save and let's see. Yep, it's done. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is when we have another screen size of min screen size 700, then I'm just going to change the btn, so the button, so class of btn, and get padding of 1 rem top and bottom and 3 rem left and right. And well, that's actually pretty much it. We don't need to overtake this. Okay. And the last thing I want to do is, let me just go through this a bit. This looks good. iPad looks good. And let's see, iPhone again. When I'm in the phone format, I want to increase the size of the button a bit. So let's go back to our normal styling, and we had our button in the header. Let's go padding 1 rem top and bottom. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at 1 rem top and bottom and 2 rem left and right. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the responsive part.